All right, as we get started, a couple things. I'm going to go over this handout that I just gave you. This weekend when I go home, there's two things that I'm hoping to be able to do. Number one is to upgrade your syllabus and then put the new updated or upgraded version out there. And second, you may or may not have heard about this. Chances are you have not. But the decision has been made here that we're going to something that you may or may not have heard of. And that is something called Github Classroom, where I'm going to be responsible for taking all of your assignments and putting them out on the system as GitHub repositories where you can grab them. You will do the assignment, then you will basically go back and give me, either make like we did last time. I don't know if you're going to have to upload them to my repository or if you can just give me access. I'm not sure. I've done almost nothing with it, all right? And that's on me to do that. So that's the first thing. So again, I want to update the syllabus, and I want to get a little bit more familiar, so to speak, with using GitHub Classroom. So I told you that this was coming, and as it says right here, I don't want to read the thing to you, but what I want you to do again is to update your portfolio. Now, today I'm going to go over a Bootstrap example. I gave people a hard copy yesterday. I can get you a hard copy during the break. All right, but what I did was I pulled the CSS out, put it in an external file. I pulled the JavaScript out, put it in an external file, and sent you a folder, a zipped folder that's called Students, where you've got the beginning of that. So you've got that stuff, and you've got the shell that I'm going to be showing you for the HTML. All right. So you've got a bunch of the stuff already. I mean, if you open it right now, it doesn't look like anything because the guts, so to speak, of the HTML are not there. All right. That's what I'm going to be showing you today. All right. So again, you will have sometime today to work on it. You will have some time next week to work on it. All right. It is due Tuesday when you come back by the end of the period. All right. I want to mention something too. You all know, Grace, I guess you probably don't know this, but maybe you noticed that last year Evan was here for a week, and he was here for a week because I had a medical issue. And this Wednesday, I woke up with severe pain in one of my legs. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to come in on Wednesday. My wife, God bless her, was able to make it a lot better than it was, all right? And bad thing was that it happened at 2 in the morning, so she wasn't real happy to have to get up and, try to help me. But I called my doctor, and they don't think it's anything. They think it's an anomaly. I used to have a problem with this when I was a little kid. But literally, I haven't had the pain like I've had for about 50 years. All right. But they want me to come in and take a couple tests. And the only time that I can take these tests, is next Friday at 3:30. So you go, oh, good, we can all leave early. Well, Mr. Corrigan talked to Brock, and Brock has got a class till 3:55. So, yeah, you can leave a half an hour early next Friday. All right, so just so you're aware of that. All right, so as it says in here, yes. Yes, you do have Monday off. Not just you, everybody does. Yes. So you're going to update your online portfolio, okay? You have your choice. I'm going to show you an example of a single page. It's not a portfolio, it's just a single page Bootstrap 4 website. That's what we're going to work on today. So you can do yours as a single page or as a multiple page. All right. If you've already, as it says, written your portfolio in Bootstrap and it's a one-page one, make it a 3-page. If it's a 3-page, make it a 1-page. All right. I do want you to get some practice using Bootstrap, even if you already have familiarity with it, because we are going to be using Bootstrap on all the projects that we're working on in here. All right. So as it says, this is a test, and notice how it's going to be graded on the effort you made. I know what your portfolios look like already, and just so you know, Paul Smith upgraded, did a lot of upgrades on the iwt.rankin.edu. There's a pretty good chance if you try to go out there right now and you try to log in, you won't be able to, because he changed the way that it's set up, and I had to change passwords. All right, your stuff is still in there. I checked after I changed everybody's password to make sure your stuff was still in there. It is still in there. All right, but I will have to email you later, either today or tomorrow, and let you know what your new password is. All right, it's going to be much easier to remember. Typically, it's something like, I don't know, Yellow Jacket 34 or something like that, as opposed to what I gave you, which was a series of letters and numbers from that basically were just generated by the computer. All right. Yes.
Mine is Bootstrap, and it's a 3-page, but I like it. Do you mind if I just send you the project?
No, what I want you to do is still do a 1-page. You can leave it and keep it. Yes.
Can I just send it to you on the file folder instead of uploading it?
We'll talk about that. Don't even worry about that for now. Okay. So as it says, you can see what the grading scale is, etc. All right. And where I've got this here for Github Classroom, if I can get everything up and working, I do have the classroom set up. You are in my afternoon classroom. I've got my morning classroom set up, but I haven't put the assignments in yet. All right. So it's basically they're blank or empty classrooms. I'm hoping to do that this weekend. So as it says for today, we'll go over the Bootstrap 4 example. Any remaining time you can work on the test. Tuesday, I'm going to go over Chapter 3. It is a short chapter. It literally is about 15 pages long. All right. The reason I'm telling you that is because we'll probably be able to do it in approximately an hour. All right. I never know, when we start going over these. But the rest of the time, you'll have to work on it. So I expect that what you're going to be doing is going to look good. All right. Wednesday of next week, we'll go over chapters 4 and 5. If it turns out that we can only get through 4 and part of 5 or whatever, we just keep pushing it down the road. That's not a problem. All right. And Thursday, I'll go over chapter 6. That is a longer chapter. As it says, if we stick to the schedule, I'm not then going to jump into chapter 7. Rather, we're going to do 2 different projects, okay, similar to what we have done this week, but hopefully they'll work out a little nicer. One, so I can show you the difference. One will be code first, and one will be database first. All right, we're going to go through those. I don't know how long that's going to take exactly. It's going to take anywhere from a period for each one of those to maybe 2 to 2.5 for each one of those. I don't know. All right. After we get done with that, we will then actually start on chapter 7, which is going to start the project that's in the book in chapters 7 through 12. And then in chapter 13, they have you deploy the project, I think using Azure, actually to the internet. We're definitely going to do all that stuff. And we're going to take it at not at a snail's pace, but fairly slow, because I want people to understand what we're doing. All right? So as it says, when you do this, Chris already asked a question, and that's fine. That's fair. All right? But ask questions if you have them. All right? Don't assume anything. I didn't send you this. I wish I would have, but I forgot to do that. So again, what I sent you earlier then was this, and again in this students.zip, all right, that, like I said, that's the stuff that it's got in there. Notice, let's see, I even put it here as far as what's in there. The CSS external file, the JavaScript external file, and the beginning of the HTML file. All right, so I'm going to use that one as well. So I'm going to right mouse click. In fact, I don't even have to do that. I've got out on the system, I've got the students both zipped and unzipped, but just to show you, I don't want to pull anything over on you. This is the external style sheet. These are the images that I used. All right. This is the JavaScript that was in there. I pulled it out, And right now, this is what's in the index.html file. So in other words, you can see there's a lot of blank. All right. And the whole thing, what I handed out to you was, I don't know how many pages and how many lines it was. But again, I pulled out the CSS and I pulled out the JavaScript. So it's less stuff that we have to do. All right. And of course, I've got notes and stuff, and they're on my desk. So I'm going to grab those in just a second. But as we get started, just so you see what's in here, I'm assuming that there is nothing, at least right here, that people don't understand. All right, you've had that back a year ago, so that shouldn't be anything new. If you're not aware of this, if you look here, notice that we've got bootstrap.min.css. All right, and the stuff that's after this, the integrity stuff that's in here in the cross origin, technically you don't need that. All right, what that does is it tries to make sure that if anybody tries to manipulate your file maliciously, they're not able to. All right. Also, when we did this, did it with Evan, we did use some Google fonts. All right, you've got that. You've got the links to the stuff that's in the external CSS, so that should be okay. Again, you've got this file. All right. The font awesome stuff, again, we linked to it. I think maybe that's the one that we had to do it that way for whatever reason. All right, we had some problems with font awesome. So I'm going to go right next door. Just for a second, I'm going to grab my notes and come back, and I'm going to pick it up right here on creating the Navbar. If you think, oh, I already know Bootstrap, I don't even have to listen to you. As long as you don't make a scene or whatever, you're fairly quiet, work on then whatever you need to work on. That's fine. You're not hurting my feelings. I'm doing this again more because it's been a while, probably for at least some of you, since you've done some Bootstrap. All right, and that's the reason for doing it as I am. So, like I said, I'm going to take this and I'm going to pause it just for a minute, go grab my notes, and I'll be. As you'd guess, there's going to be a lot of typing in here. And if it turns out that it's 3 o'clock and I'm halfway through it, then forget it. I'll just give you an hour or so to work on this today. But we should at least get a good start on what's in here. All right, you can see how this is broken up. This could have been done in a lot of different ways. All right, and in fact, what Evan told me was that he found some class on udemy.com, and in the class on udemy.com, the guy built a single page site. He took what that guy did basically as a template, because of course the site the guy built wasn't for Rankin Technical College, okay? So he used that as his template, and that was his starting point, so to speak. So I'm going to add a bunch of stuff in here. I've got a bunch of stuff, all right? Hopefully as I type stuff in, I won't be making mistakes, all right? So the nav bar that goes up at the top, I'm just going to start with that. And not a terrific start, because I don't know why that's turned color like that. Oh, I do. There. Okay. So I'm going to put in about 5 or 6 lines, run it, put in some more lines, run it. You can see, again, my typing probably isn't the best. All right, so I'll make at least my share of mistakes, if not more so. Tell you what, this is going to be a cluster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the finished product. Okay, I think that'll look better. If it takes an hour, then you'll have 2 or 3 hours today to work on this. All right. The first thing that we put in here, and I'll open it up also so that you can see it. Somehow I did an upgrade on my Notepad++, and it's screwed up a lot of stuff. All right. Okay, I don't want students. That's the one I want. Okay. So the first thing that's in here is the navigation bar. Because of the fact that this is Rankin, that's the reason it's red with white writing. Okay? I would expect you to have some kind of a nav bar at the top, regardless. I don't care how you do it. Plus, and you don't have to necessarily do this in this assignment, but I know one of the things that Evan has asked for, and most of you have done this, is make sure you've got a picture of yourself on your electronic portfolio. All right. Now, some of you have put several pictures in there, and all I'm going to say about that is that really there should be a single picture, and it should be of you. It shouldn't be of you and friends. It shouldn't be anything like that. If you've done that, I'm not saying that to be mean or whatever. It's your portfolio. It should be you. It should be all about you. All right? And when you look at this, you see the stuff that's in here. It by no means is perfect, but the idea is it does allow you to move around. All right? So when we take a look at what is here, all right, this is what I started to type in, but just so you see it. All right, it's a nav bar, large, dark with a fixed top, but by default, that means it's going to be dark in color. In other words, it's going to be blackened. So by putting this in there, it's now red. Not that you had to do that, but again, that's what we did for this assignment. All right. What I want you to understand in here, a few things which I may have explained to you last year, I may not have. I don't remember. All right. But when you see this, when you use the data toggle equal collapse and the data target equal nav bar nav, the idea is when you run this and you get it down, you know this already, or at least I hope you do, to a certain size like this, your menu goes away and it gets replaced by what's referred to as a hamburger menu. And when you click on the hamburger menu, your stuff is still there. All right? In order to get that to work, that's why we put in the data toggle collapse, the data target, etc. All right? And there's a few things in here. Again, I'm just telling you this because I don't want you to make mistakes when you're working on those. Notice this data target right here. It says data target nav bar nav. That is an ID. That ID, if you're going to do it like this, must match that ID. All right? So up there it says data target equal pound nav bar nav. That's this. So what is this? This section that you see right here, that's all those white links that are at the top. All right? To the top, description, trailer, showcase, features, pricing, reviews, and newsletter. All right? So that right there, all the code here, what is it? About 30 lines approximately. That 30 lines, the first, or those 30 lines, are used to create this. All right? And again, hopefully looking at that, that just makes sense to you. All right? Then there's the Jumbotron. Again, is it mandatory you have a Jumbotron on yours? No. If you think yours is better without the Jumbotron, don't have one. If you think the Jumbotron, no, I want one, that's where I'm going to put my picture, then do that. All right? What I want, and I mentioned this the other day, that I felt bad because of the fact that I didn't see a lot of people who graduated last May working hard for jobs. I want you to be able to do that. So if Christian sees his dream job this weekend on Indeed.com, he can send a copy of his portfolio out there, all right, or a link to it or whatever, and it looks as professional as possible, all right. I'm not going to lie to you. Some of yours didn't look professional, all right, and I'm not ripping on anybody in particular. I'm really and truly not. But a portfolio, all right, a real portfolio, you may end up changing your portfolio a lot once you graduate. And I would suggest you do. All right? And what I mean is, typically what you have in a real professional portfolio is somewhere between 3 and 7 examples of work that you've done. All right? And that's what most of the portfolio is. It's not about you so much. But I was reading this article online the other day where this guy was saying he works for a company and he is a supervisor. And he said he's been there like 12 years. And it's amazing the number of people that he has found out after he hired them that actually didn't know how to code. All right? And he said that they could talk a good game, they've done a lot of work, etc. It's not that they were bad workers, but when it came down to it, if they were given a brand new project and gone out and said, now go out and code this, they didn't know how to do it. All right? So as an example, the project that we will work on as a class, not the sports store one, but we're going to do another one. Hopefully that's going to come out as well as I hope it is, because I'm just working on it behind the scenes now. That one, all right, maybe 1 or 2 of the apps that you do, when you come in here in spring, I guarantee you, the first day of the semester, we're going to start writing apps, Android apps, the first day. You're going to write one the first day. In fact, I'm going to give you an existing one and ask you to modify it. All right? I don't know if you agree with this, Devin, because he's taken the class already, but I mean, you guys wrote quite a few apps in there. We probably wrote a half dozen to a dozen as a class, and you probably wrote close to a dozen on your own. All right, and as you guessed, sometimes you'd have one app and you'd have to progressively add on to it. And then there's a project when you have to create your own app from scratch. All right, my hope, and last year I didn't do this, so I still have to get permission, but my hope is this year, a part of your grade is going to be based on whether or not you actually go and pay the $25, register as an Android developer. And if you don't do that, okay, I'm going to ask the people like Mr. Corrigan who are in charge, can I punish them for not doing it? And the only way I can punish you is to take points off. Because last year only one person out of the class did it. All right? And that's not what I want. So let's pretend it was the day you graduate and you get called for a job interview the next week. And they say, can I see an example of some of your work? You could have them bring your laptop with you, go out to the internet, and actually show them the app that you've created. All right, that's the idea behind it. All right, so in the Jumbotron here, if you're not aware of this, display 1, display 4, etc., what those are like H1, H2, H3, H4 tags, and a lead paragraph. A lead is designed to actually make it a little bit bigger. We also added in here our own shadow class and our own highlighting class. Okay? Download now on. Again, this is my opinion. In the end, it is your portfolio. All right? But if you're going to put hyperlinks in your portfolio, in my opinion, they should go somewhere. All right? If you put buttons in there and if you say click here to do something, it should do that thing. All right? So not like it's a big thing, but notice in here that if we look on here, come on, there's 2 buttons right here, one that says App Store and one that says Google Play. Okay? and you click App Store, it actually takes you out to the App Store. And if you click Google Play, it actually takes you out to Google Play. All right? I'd have to search in here, but just to show you. Well, I don't remember how to do my search. But, no, those aren't mine. I actually do have one. I have an app out there in the App Store. All right? Probably shouldn't show it to you because it's not that great. Okay. Then everything that we do here is inside of a class called container. So everything that you look at on the screen here that is between here, the bottom of our header, and here, all right, this is our footer area, okay? All the other stuff, that's inside of a container. There are so many different ways that you can do this. So if you didn't like what I did, there's a lot of ways you can change them. I think you all know this. Again, I don't mean to talk down to you ever, but you can go out to getbootstrap.com, all right, and you can go out, for example, you can go out to the documentation, and you can go out here and you can find different stuff, utilities, etc. You can go grab stuff. There'll be code there. That's not cheating to go out and do that. That's like, when you first started and I had you go out to W3 Schools. All right? W3 Schools says take our code, use it, abuse it type of an idea. Same thing in here. So if you decide you want to pull a ton of stuff out, you'd have to modify it, of course, so that it's about you. I don't care if you do that. But again, part of it will, if it looks like you just took a bunch of stuff and threw it up there, and it doesn't look very professional and it doesn't flow very well, you'll lose some points. All right? Again, Evan just put this stuff in. He told me that he actually went out to the website and found all these paragraphs. I would tell you, if you remember, when we started to build websites, occasionally we'd go out to like lipsum.org and we'd grab some garbage text. Don't do that on your own stuff. All right? And again, if you say, well, duh, yeah, but I've actually seen people who have done that. They put filler text on their own website. You shouldn't do that. It just doesn't look very professional. And it happened once. And when I asked a student about it, he said, oh, geez, I forgot all about that. Well, that's good. I'm glad at least we saw it before you sent it out to somebody. All right? All right. So if you look in here, this is the link. It says, please watch our trailer video below. It's inside of an iframe. All right? And if you look, if you go out to YouTube, and let's just say I come in here and I type in Rankin Technical College. All right? You'll actually find the one that's in there. I don't know where it is. It's down a ways, I guess. But it's in there. So if it was this one and I decided I wanted to use this one, and I wanted to take that and take this one here and bring it into my program, I'd click the share button over here, and it gives me that. All right? And if you click embed, it will actually bring you, I don't know why it's doing that, but let's see. If you do an embed, though, what it'll bring you in is this. All the stuff for the iframe. Everything that you need. You may not want to set the width and the height, because if you set the width and you set the height, you're saying that you're not going to change it. All right? You probably want to go in and in your CSS, make the width and the height 100%. But it's got the source in here. It's got, if you do want a border around it, you can put one. I don't remember what accelerometer is. All right? You can go and look it up, and it'll tell you what it is. I don't remember. All right? This is telling it to basically autoplay, so it'll automatically start. All right? And a lot of the stuff that's in here, I just kept it there or didn't. All right? But how do you know whether or not you need it? Well, if nothing else, put it all in there and then start taking it out one at a time. This thing I'd say is pretty important, especially if you decide as an example that you go out and you find some free type of thing where you can make your own video and put it in there. I think personally that'd be cool for you to do. So if Luke goes, as an example, Luke says, yeah, we had this website we had to do for our class and mine was the one chosen and here it is, and goes through it, you can't show your code any better than that. All right? And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and I mentioned this to you the other day, you are out there and you're trying to sell yourself. If you do get an interview, now it's a two-way process. Pardon my French, but you're both prostitutes. You're trying to sell yourself to an employer. The employer is trying to sell themselves, the company, to you. That's the way it is. I was on an interview team for 3 years. I have interviewed probably over 300 people in my life. All right? And that wasn't what I just told you. I didn't make it up. I had somebody I was interviewing once saying, well, how'd I do? And I said, well, fine, why? And then they brought it up that they thought that it was kind of like being a prostitute. All right? I'd never thought about it that way before then, but I guess probably I've never worked with a prostitute. But I would think somehow there are similarities in what he was saying. That's all. All right. So again, we've got this. It's inside of the iframe. Notice this. This is done, and it's done using HTML5. All right? There's the nav, which normally would be a Navbar. I guess there is no real header, so to speak, but we could have put a header tag here and put all the nav stuff in there. All right? When you go down with the Jumbotron, we could have had a main tag in here. All right? If you decide that, more than anything else, I want to be involved in web programming. I don't like C#, I don't like ASP.NET, I don't like Java, etc. Then the examples that you make and you put into your portfolio should be much heavier based on websites. That should make sense. That said, you should follow good practices. All right? And you should use HTML5 constructs. All right? All right, so again, everything's in a container. We've got these couple paragraphs here, and we've got some more stuff for, as I just mentioned, our video. Then you go down, here's the carousel. I'd like you to try to at least put a carousel in there. All right? So if you think it makes sense, okay, and you say, well, what would I put into a carousel? As an example, now this is your third class. You could have a carousel with 3 things in it. You could have a picture, and they are out there on the web, that you put in that's got HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript on it. You could find a picture, something with C#. You could find a picture, something with ASP.NET. As an example, you go, I don't like that. Then think of your own. All right? Couple things about this, too. It's kind of interesting, at least in my opinion, because Evan and I come at this a different way. So when you look in here, this is what he had the students do in summer. He had them go to images, and he typed in Rankin Technical College. All right? When we first did it, some of the students did their own stuff. There was one young lady who did it over the summer. She had gone to Wisconsin Dells, and she did her whole site on the Dells. So when we went out here, she put in Wisconsin Dells. All right? A lot of the people did it by starting at Rankin, okay, and then they ended up going and changing it later. All right? But what he did, and like I said, when you come over here, because I didn't even know some of this stuff existed, he had them type, I thought it was more, maybe it wasn't. Okay, we come in and we do Rankin. Now I don't remember what it was, and that's great. But there's ways that you can do this. For instance, if I put in here, this is how I've always done it, large images. All right? And that's what it'll give you by and large, no pun intended. But what you're going to find, 1500, 844, those aren't the same size. Okay? And the chances of you being able to go out on the system and find everything you want in the size you want, or to use your own images and have all of them be exactly the same size, probably aren't very good. All right? But one thing you can do, and again, do you know about this? I don't know. But I can come in here, and as an example, I'm going to just grab the one of our campus here, and I'm going to save the image, and I'm going to save it to the desktop. And I'm just going to call it Rankin-Wentzville.jpg. All right. Now I'm going to go into here, all right, and I'm going to do a file, open, desktop, and what should be in here amongst other things are Rankin-Wentzville. Okay, there it is. Okay. Now, when it's saved, it didn't save it as this size. What if I want to change it? Even more than that, what if I've got a bunch of them and they're almost all the same size and I want to change them? All right. You can go into resize. Notice it's got percentages and it's got pixels. That's its size right now. So if I wanted to double this, I could basically put in here what? 600, and then notice it automatically doubles that one. Okay? You can see what's going on in here. All right? But you might quite often want to go in and use resize, go in there to pixels, and change things. What you've got to watch out for is if you make it too big, it becomes blurry, it's out of focus. All right? I've been talking with a person from Adobe, trying to get it set up so we could get you guys, get some kind of a license for Photoshop. They're not buying what I'm selling right now. So I had to write her a long letter today, and I'm going to see if she gets back to me or not. All right? Typically, they only want to sell to schools that at a minimum are going to buy 250 of their licenses. If you took everybody here and everybody in St. Louis, and Perryville doesn't have this program, it's more like 100. All right? We're not considered big enough that they want to give the kind of deal I want them to give. Okay? All right. So here was the carousel. Again, that shows you at least how to set it up. And then the actual guts, so to speak, of the carousel, each slide. All right. You know, if you are going to create a carousel and you have a picture on the first page of the logos for HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript, you probably don't need any text. All right? So if the thing is inclusive enough where you can look at it and go, yeah, I know what that is, then don't put any text in. All right, so I had 4 slides here, and again, you've got the 4 slides, as I already think at least have mentioned. They're in here. This is the one that's at the top, but it's these 4. And if you brought these 4 up, what you noticed is I had to go in and do a little of dickering around and resizing so they are all the same size. When I first did this, I thought I changed them all. I had only changed 3 of them. So when you came down here, which is where we are now, this was fine. It looked okay. In fact, let me make this a little smaller. There. So we had this one, then this one, then this one. But when I got to the last one, it was a little smaller, so it looked like it jumped down a little bit. That's really unprofessional looking. All right? You don't want to be remembered for that. You want to be remembered for having a site that is professional looking. I probably mentioned this to you already, but I'm going to say it again just to tell you. I still will always remember. When I was working at AT&T Bell Labs, I applied for a teaching job. All right, I thought it's something I could do on the side. I'd never taught before, but they asked how much I'd made at my last 3 jobs. I screwed it up. That was back in the day where we're talking the early 80s. They wanted you to fill it out by hand. Okay? Instead of saying I made $30,000, I said I made $300,000. Okay? It was my fault. There was no excuse. When I did the interview, one person brought it up. There were 6 other people there. All 6 of them said, yeah, I noticed. I was wondering why you left that job if you were making $300,000. And they all started laughing, etc. They knew it. But it was on me because I didn't do a good enough job of proofing what I sent into them. And I was embarrassed. When they said it, I wasn't embarrassed because they said it. I was embarrassed because I did it. All right? Okay. But like I said, this doesn't look fantastic, but when you go through it, you'll notice there's the movement in here is fluid. That's what you want in whatever you create. All right? All right, then we've got these features that are in here. That's this. Nothing big. My read mores, I don't know if they go anywhere. I think they all just go to Rankin. All right, his didn't go anywhere, but I think we just pushed all of them over to Rankin. All right. Pricing. Again, this is like I mentioned. Here, if I had done something and screwed that up, and no, this is not Rankin, you don't get one class for free, etc. We get that. This was just something that we did for the students. Okay. The reviews, okay. I changed what Evan had in here, okay. But he only said that was okay as long as I put that in there. Mr. G is truly the most web developer extraordinaire. And he said as long as I put that in there, he didn't care what I said about anybody else. So, all right, so I did. And then finally, we've got this. This is a form. Should make sense to you looking at it that would be a form. All right. And, I mean, it's not hard to go in here, or you could even, if you wanted to put a link on here and click and actually have it bring up some terms. Now, this right now, I don't remember if it goes anywhere or it doesn't go anywhere. No, it doesn't go anywhere. All right. And then finally, there's the footer at the bottom. Okay. Now, if you notice, and again, I'm showing you this. I'm not saying, yeah, I'm showing you this because this site is so frickin' fantastic. No, it's not. But notice, if I click Facebook, all right, it goes out to, it says it's Rankin's Facebook, okay? And if I go out to Twitter, it's Rankin's Twitter. If I go out to Instagram, it's Rankin's Instagram. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe Rankin didn't have one. I don't remember. All right. And finally, if I go out here, I don't even remember what that is. But that goes out to Rankin also. So in other words, if you are going to put social media links on there, on what you're doing, they should go somewhere. All right. And I may have told you about this. I may not have. I don't care. But my niece is a teacher. She's about 30 years old. She's a great kid. And she teaches in South Milwaukee someplace. I don't know where. Like I said, I think it's 8th grade. Now, what she does with her life is none of my business. But when I go out and I've looked at her Facebook page, and she'll have on there some days, F this, F that, F whatever. And I always think to myself, man, if you're ever going to go out and look for another job someplace, what a lot of employers do is they can sit there and web scrape and they can find virtually anything you've ever had out there on your Facebook page. So you should never put anything out there, this is my opinion, that you'd want to have used against you. All right. And then finally at the bottom, okay, this is kind of interesting just in case you didn't know it. They now have a slimmed down version of Jquery that you can use. It's even smaller than it used to be. But they said most people don't use, I don't remember what's not in it, but it's there. If you're going to use popovers, you typically need to include popper. All right, and one thing for Bootstrap, you definitely do need bootstrap.min.js. Feel free if there's anything that I put out here. So in other words, there's not much to this JavaScript file, and I'm not going to lie to you. I took it off the internet, but made changes to it. All right? But if that can help you, then use it. If there's anything that has been put into the CSS file. All right? Because it's not a big CSS file. I think there are only 40 or 50 lines in it. But if there's something in there that you can use, yeah, 40 lines, use it. All right? Well, that doesn't take nearly as long when I don't type stuff. All right? So I'm done. So you have virtually 3 hours today to sit and work on it. All right? And I'll ask on Tuesday how people are doing. Questions? That's all I got.